Hi, this is Rabbi Orlofsky, and welcome to the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. And whether you're watching with our friends over at Torah Anytime, wherever you watch or listen to your podcast, as always, it is a pleasure to have you along for this experience. And this is, of course, our special Purim edition of the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Yeah? Shoishanas Yaakov, Sala v'samecha, v'roizav yachat cheles Mordechai. And we have a special sponsor for this special Purim edition of the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Le'iloi Nishmas, well, that changed fast. Shlomo ben Avigdor Moshe Fried, Malka bas Moshe Fried, Yitzchak Yaakov ben Eliyahu Grunberger, Rivka bas Gavriel Chaim Grunberger, Zev ben Yehuda Leib Weinstein, and A Refuah Shelaimah to Meir Binyomin ben Chaya Sara, and may Hashem send Yeshuos and Nechamos to all of Klal Yisrael by Avigdor Moshe and Mindy Fried. I just, on a personal note, want to say that the Frieds are just the nicest people in the world and such good friends. And we go back many, many years, and they go back with my wife's family, back to the old days in Kew Garden Hills. And Baruch Hashem, they should have only simchas and wonderful things, and their families, refuahs and Yeshuos. And so for I rack my brains. No, I rack my brain. I only have one. I know, it seems like I have two, but I only have one brain. And I rack it before Purim to think, what can I do that will be a very special Purim edition? And I said, I know, the return of Yaakov Orlofsky, ladies and gentlemen. You know, in the first year, I think Yaakov was our first guest. And he may have been our only guest. And he's been back several times since. He's a fan favorite of the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. He hasn't been here in a long time. And I said, my gosh, Purim is coming up. Who better than to have Yaakov? In fact, we did a Purim show twice. Once in America and once during COVID. One of the most pathetic productions that we ever had. It was terrible. But I don't hold you responsible for that. That was because we were on Zoom and we kept zooming in and out of disappearing and stuff. But anyway, welcome to the show, Yaakov Orlofsky.
Thank you.
Okay, that was a great opening.
Well, I'll tell you.
That's the kind of clever repartee that we're looking for on this Purim edition of the Rabbi Orlofsky.
Previous shows, you had me on, and I didn't stop talking, and then I wasn't invited back for years. So we'll try a different approach this time and just see how that works out. Thank you.
There was somebody who was speaking at a Malka. And if you've ever been to these events, this one speaks, and then this one introduces the speaker, and then this one introduces the introduction, and they speak and speak. By the time the guest speaker got up, it was 12 o'clock at night. And he got up and he said, I was invited to be the guest speaker, but apparently I was meant to be the guest listener. Good luck. And he sat down to tremendous applause. My friend, Rabbi Yitzchak Dovid Frankel, who is the Rav of the Good of the Five Towns, who was on our show, our live podcast in New York. So he was once speaking at a bar mitzvah, and there were many, 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 many speakers. And he got up and he says, you ever see kids who say, I'm the fastest runner in the world. I can run around the entire world in a second. Watch. Want to see it again? He goes, I bet I'm the fastest speaker here tonight. Want to hear it again? Once again, the tremendous applause. So that's why I've said this, and I want this on record. I don't want any hispadim when I die because I hate speeches. And so I just don't want to have to be there, make a big shloshim and speak whatever you want. I won't be there, hopefully, Can
we edit this part out?
Absolutely not. I want this on record. I hate hispadim. I don't want to be there. I don't want to listen to any speeches. Just put me in the ground as quickly as possible. Anyway, but so that's why I have to sit through speeches. So anyway, so Yaakov, what do you want to share with us as we approach Purim? We have to take Purim and make it meaningful. This is always the challenge of everything in Avodas Hashem, is to make it meaningful. So what you been doing?
Oh, yeah. Listen, I was thinking this time, I don't know if we ever done this. I don't think we did it, at least not in this way. Maybe
just sing. I did a few.
You did a few of those, yeah.
Yeah, we had Ezra here,
right? You
Cousin
literally
Ezra.
sang the whole bencher. So I mean, we could start trying to sing the Megillah, see how that goes.
There you go.
But different people have different experiences on Purim. Everyone does their Purim the different way they do their Sudas, Shlomo, and so on. I was thinking maybe we could share a little bit of how, at least growing up, how we had our Purim over here.
Well, we're out of time. Thanks so much, everybody.
Well, we don't have to hit all the way to the end.
I have to say, I remember all the Purims except one year when...
I remember the year you don't remember.
Apparently I got drunk. I don't remember getting drunk because I don't get drunk as a rule. And I just don't remember. And I remember they videoed it. And the kids always said to me, "Do you want to see the video?" And I said, "No, I have not seen the video to this day." But that was the only one that I don't remember. So, So
that was the one thing we had, this video camera.
Yeah.
That we used to video, and you could just see it on that little screen. And every poor morning, somehow find yourself sleeping somewhere, and then you wake up, wobbling in the morning, and right away you run to the video camera and say, "Okay, what'd I do last night? Oh, okay."
I remember one Purim, I woke up and found a pregnant nun sleeping on my floor.
Yeah.
So that I do remember.
He's a famous guy today.
Yeah?
Yeah, very.
All right. Well, we won't mention him by name, but...
well, so I'll tell you, how...
Rabbi Friend, we just give you a shout out. Anyway. Kidding. We're kidding. Anyway, go ahead.
He's a singer, famous singer. You know how Pesach comes, people start cleaning and preparing, from Tu B'Shvat. People clean it up. Yeah.
Sure.
Not us. I mean, we used to it was like a week before Pesach, and then everyone's like, "Oh my God, it's Pesach in a week." And then the house was a ruckus. I mean, literally till after
we had 11 kids. It's very hard to clean with a lot of little kids running around.
Yeah.
Because as fast as you clean, they, destroy it again. There was one year, remember? Oh gosh, we had done a particular room, and then a kid walked in there with like some kind of sprinkles that were hummus, and dropped it, and they rolled all over the place. And, 1 second, it's one wonder I have a heart condition. Anyway, yeah.
Well, listen, you always used to do the big sponger. The big sponger. There's apparently,
Now is this room over here? You can't really see it so well. But I would get down on my hands and knees.
Yeah, but it was the whole house. Like everyone used to clean their room, and then we used to all move out. And then do the living room, dining room, kitchen, whatever, all the shared rooms. And then, the last day was the big sponger. Now, I grew up with the big sponger. That was the Pesach. You take out all the drawers, move all the beds, and then just like scrubbing and doing like, okay, we're going to clean the... But then throughout my life...
The problem is that if when you do the small sponger and you don't do the other room, then it just tracks back in. Right. So you have to do everything at the same time. Otherwise, so you could do the first cleaning, but...
Right, so this is what I thought, that, this is the only way to do it, the big sponger. Later on in life, especially when I was married, and then Pesach comes, and my wife is, super extra clean and neat and stuff like that. Like, I don't know how much you even have to clean for Pesach, but okay, fine, we do the whole cleaning. And then I'm like, I don't know if we have time. We have to do the big sponger. She's like, "What's the big sponger?" I was like, "What? You gotta move everything and then just flood the house all at the same time and get down and scrub and stuff." And she looks at me like I'm crazy. Like, "Everything's clean. What do you have to?" I was like, no, this is you got to do the big sponger. Where are we on the big sponger? So apparently that's not universal.
Yeah.
The big sponger.
There's a lot of things I found that are not universal. So, like, for example, not everybody washes all the windows.
For Pesach or just in general?
For Pesach.
Okay.
Because apparently you almost never find a gluska yofa stuck on the window itself. However, I have found them on the trissim, so that for sure you have to do. Yeah. Well, I had a different standard. In fact, when I was growing up, I remember we would have. To me, I don't mind making Pesach. I don't mind the cleaning. I don't mind the cooking, the shopping. I mind switching back.
Oh,
that to me is a nightmare.
That's terrible.
That is absolutely a nightmare. But when I was growing up, and I was a teenager, and I was in FBT, Flaming Baal Tshuva. So my father would motzi yantif, have some matzah and whatever, and a cup of coffee, and And then he'd say to me, well, good night. I'm having chametz in the morning. And I would stay up all night, packing everything up, taking everything, washing everything, and everything. There's a system to winding down, which my family did not understand. There shouldn't be any pots in the fridge by this point. They should have switched into chad pa'ami. They should forget about it.
Well, I know a guy like that. That what he does is, Erev Shvi, they already do all the dishes. Well, because one of the hardest parts is that then you had a day yontif or 2 day yontif, wherever you are in the world. And then you have all the dishes and all the pots and everything you used. Then you have to wash it and you're just waiting for it till it dries. You have to dry everything. It's like a double job. So he, Erev Shvi, they do all the dishes and everything like that. They try to cook whatever they could just in, pans in the oven. And then everything's dry. They just use, like you said, chad pa'ami or whatever, paper goods and so on.
Yeah.
And by the time it comes in, then that whole part is done.
Yeah. So my house, we didn't do that. So it was up to me all night, going way until early in the morning. So I knew my father was serious. He was going to come in and have comments in the morning in that kitchen. In fact, I had these, my parents, my father grew up very poor. And the only Yerusha he had from his mother were these 2 plates that he got in a 5 and dime store, his mother. They were offset printed, and they were like a little blurry, One was matzah and one was the Seder plate. And that was his Yerusha from his mother. And we used to have to carry it up from the Pesach closet. And it was understood. It was never stated, but it was understood that if you broke those plates, you don't have to explain. Just leave. Just go. Pack up whatever you can and get out, because that's it. That was all he had, like that, So that was a pachad all by itself, So as the years went by, we rubbed it in bubble wrap and cardboard and stuff. But every time we carried it up, that shit, Moshe the Kohen Gadol and Yom Kippur going into the kosher kedosha with a rope tied around him in case he died, Anyway,
so the reason I mentioned this is because that Pesach we couldn't start, so in advance, but Purim started by us like 2 months in advance at least. First you got to decide a theme. And then you would have the family discussions about the themes of Purim. Everything was a theme by us.
And this was hard because if it wasn't like the theme, then nobody was happy. And you had to keep rethinking it and replanning it. And
exactly.
So far, no one has done my theme that I've always wanted to do.
Right.
The carrots.
Yeah.
I wanted to start collecting carrot bags and then put the shalachmanas in carrot bags and have everything based on carrots, and then have everyone dress up like carrots. And it still hasn't happened. One day, Mitzvah Hashem, now that everyone's out of the house, it's just us and Shlomo. So, he'll, when he moves out, so then we could do carrots, me and Ima.
Well, that sounds like a fun Purim.
There you go.
Well, so the first themes that were just, based on ideas or twists with the name or stuff like that. Eventually, after a bunch of years, you run out of the themes, and then just went into color schemes and stuff like that. And you basically did all the colors. And I mean, what's left? Well, besides the carrot bag, it's starting not to look so bad.
One year we had a Purim Meshulish, and we did 3s. Everything was in 3s.
Right.
So that was exciting. And I remember at one point, Eged was advertising that they changed all the color of their buses to green. And Yerok Zeh Eged. So they had that big olive. So they did an olive for Orlofsky. Now, Yerok Zeh Orlofsky. And we did that for him.
Right, with all the green stuff.
That was a lot of fun.
All right, so it starts with a theme, right? You got to do the theme. Then you got to figure out the shalachmanas that always has to go with the theme.
Yes.
All right. And then you always write some sort of letter / poem, whatever. Now,
I have to say, this is an art form. Because, most of the poems that you get in the shalachmanas, people they don't have a gift for it. They really should just write from the
Exactly. That's what I don't even do from. I just write my last name. That's it. Mishpachat, and then you're done.
I don't even write my name. This way, you're just going to hand it to somebody else.
Exactly.
Anyway, so
Who knows where it's going to go? Right.
I've
Just
had this,
happy Purim and
I've
just
had
let it
this
go.
where you send the shalach manas, and then you get it back from like 5 people later. You save shalach manas, which is great because I like mine better. But
And you're always left with so much. Like when I was younger, you used to make like 100 of them.
yeah.
The whole living room was filled with whatever you.
Well, I've worked hard to alienate most of the people in my life, so there are many much less people to send it to. But of course, you end up with less shalach manas,
Yeah.
But
So lots and lots of them. You're always left with a ton of stuff. All the shalach mana stuff you get from people, and then all the stuff you had that you have left. And at the end of the kitchen, it was just like piles and piles of this stuff. And we're always hoping that maybe one of the organizations that collect money, food for the poor will come and but they don't always want all the chametz. And then you're just left with piles and piles of them.
there was a guy, Kramer, who does brissim.
Yeah, of course. For older,
he does it for adults.
Stuff. Yeah.
Does it for adults. The first time I met him is you have a lot of people from the former Soviet Union who didn't have brissim, and so he does it for them. And when you reach a certain age, you can't sit on someone's lap. You have to have like a what do you call it? A operating room. And doctors and stuff. And so I paid for a bris once, a whole bris, and so he made me a sandik, and it's amazing. You scrub up, you wear the scrubs, and you hold the head as they're doing it. And so he used to come by after Purim and collect all the little bottles of wine.
Oh,
Because after the brissim, he would make like
wow.
I went to this one, he's a Hasidish, so afterwards you have a Suda and you have a Rakida.
Mm-hmm.
It's a very slow Rakida. As you can probably imagine. When I was there, the youngest kid who was getting it was 15. The oldest was a man who was 76.
Wow.
Had a bris milah.
Wow.
And they all seemed pretty happy.
It's amazing.
They were dancing pretty slowly.
Yeah.
Anyway, yeah. So they used to take that. I have. Okay. I don't pretend that I. About my background, but I grew up in a conservative household, and we went trick-or-treating. It's hard to do here in Eretz Yisrael. I think maybe you could do it in Machal and Malo Dafna, and Ramat Eshkol. They wouldn't be surprised if you showed up on Halloween and said trick-or-treat, give you something. But when I was growing up, we used to do it. And my grandmother, my mother's mother, would come by after Halloween and steal all our candy and take it to the hospital. Give the sick children. We had to try to hide it. Yeah, we had to hide it.
Wow.
And my attitude was like charity begins at home, but my grandma took all my stuff. We had to try to hide. Anyway, but so by Purim, you remember what we used to do at the end of Purim?
Well, whoever was still around.
Whoever was still around.
We opened the shalach manas.
We wouldn't let anyone eat. You know how people start... Now, I can't do this anymore because as soon as the shalach manas comes, people start right away munching at it and taking it.
Well, there's all the grandkids and stuff.
It's not just the grandkids. It's the children now have no respect for tradition. But I used to put everything in the back of the kitchen. You weren't allowed to touch it. And when the whole Suda was over and we cleaned up, we would take out all the shalach manas and we would learn pshat.
Yeah.
We would say, what were these people trying to say? And what was their theme and what they're trying to do here? You know what I mean? And so you have the people who do the, the orange with the little piece of bumba for a mouth and 2 little toffees and stuff.
And the 2 long pretzels.
What these people are saying is that they really don't care about you. You're just not that important. And you really should cultivate better friends. I still remember, give them a shout out, the Tenches. They used to send for shalach manas sliced roast beef.
Yeah.
And
by the way, those
if you're out there,
sandwiches,
we still love you and we'd love to get a shalach manas. Those are the kind of friends you need to cultivate, the roast beef people, and try to squeeze out the bumba bisley people.
Yeah, but listen, the best were those sandwiches. People would just come by with some sort of sandwiches, or breakfast type thing that they come in.
Yeah, but you have to eat it right away.
Right, but you know what? Purim is like that because you go to the Megillah and then you start your shalach manas all day. Whenever the Suda is, by us was usually always at the end of the day. And somehow you got to just figure out food throughout the day but you're not making anything. You're not cooking anything. And then, I mean, what are you going to eat? I mean, you're just drinking and you got to eat something. And the Shalchmanas come in.
My son-in-law, Yisrael Meir, for reasons that are unclear to me, people go crazy over his cold cut sandwiches.
Very good. Very good.
I don't know what, but it's Israeli cold cuts. What can you do with them?
I mean, you don't need a lot. A nice fresh roll.
But he takes like a baguette and he slices it, and he has
some ketchup, some
sauces.
mustard.
I don't know if he puts some coleslaw. I don't know.
No, just he does that. The two
and he
types,
slices them
salami
up,
and turkey,
and people go crazy
pickles.
over it. They just eat it all up.
I mean, but what else do you need? A nice fresh roll, with some sauce, a little whatever, that fake meat that they put in there. Some pickles. I mean, this is not American cold cuts. This is
alternatively roast
here.
beef.
Yeah.
I think makes a fine snack treat.
Yes.
And then there are people who send the breakfast, and they have like yogurt and granola and those kind of things. And,
right.
Sometimes you actually get like bagels and
right.
Cream cheese and stuff. Very exciting.
Chocolate, all the chocolate.
So somebody once comes, his wife was learning how to do chocolate. And he brings by a Shalchmanas, and it's all these very fancy, chocolate things from that. I go, wow, this is unbelievable. And I ate one, and he almost had a heart attack. I don't think he planned on anyone actually eating it. He just put it on display, So anyway, but we would sit down and we would put it out. So, you'd say, okay, well, cans go over here.
Yeah.
Bottles go over here,
Boxes of Bumba and Bisley and stuff
those
from
kind
all
of
the
things.
kids.
There were boxes, and then there's all like the loose nuts, Now, you don't know where they've been and who packed this.
Well, listen, this is true about almost
E.
everything.
coli,
People send baked goods and stuff, But if you don't personally know them, I mean,
right.
What if, some little kids were, dirty little kids. I mean, I don't mean that in a bad way, but yeah, exactly.
When kids come home from a baking chod.
Right, exactly. You want to take it. Right here. He's like, here, taste this.
Digging into the dough.
Right. And no.
There was a Seinfeld like that once where he's in an Italian restaurant and the chef goes to the bathroom and doesn't wash his hands afterwards. And he sees him kneading the dough.
Pizza.
I'm not so hungry. Yeah, it is a problem. Whenever the little kids bake a challah and they bring it home and they say, "Oh, I made this myself." I say, Let me take some antibiotics first, just to be on the safe side.
Well, and then there's the whole costume. So when everyone was older and stuff, then we try to do family costumes. So we're certain kind of ideas now. Being the only boys, they usually did all the girls, and then we could just get away with just putting on a mask or, a funny tie or something like that.
Yeah.
And throughout the years, it got bigger. But when we were younger, I mean,
I had this great idea of wearing a black suit, a white shirt, and a black tie, and going as a Mormon. How about that?
At a funeral.
Yeah. That's how the Mormons dress. Yeah. So,
but listen, when we were younger, I mean, that was a lot of kids.
Yeah.
Everyone has to do a school costume, but then the day costume.
And sometimes at school there's two of them.
Right.
There's one for the party, and then there's one for the thing, and then there's for the day and the night. And you can go crazy.
Yeah. But you did it.
You have kids now.
Yeah, but
buy them online.
Yeah, usually. I mean, it's simpler. Comes to the house. They're excited for a day. It's $1.50, and you know what I mean? It is what it is. I mean, when we were very little.
$1.50? You can get a costume for $1.50?
No. I mean to say it's expensive. Just the figure of speech.
We used to get these costumes. They were expensive.
Yeah, they are.
$30.
Yeah, and I mean, it's a one-time use. I mean.
Yeah, because no one was using it. Yeah.
Exactly. So if there's cousins and, other kids, you could try to, but when we were very little, you guys used to be creative with the costumes. Try to set us up, with some cheaper.
Go ahead, you're still traumatized. Tell the story.
No, not at all.
No, tell the story. Tell the story.
I wasn't talking about me. I'm not talking about me. I'm just saying.
Yaakov was 3. You might have been 2. You might have been 2. I don't know what it was. And you were going to
6. I was 6.
You were not. You were
I don't know. There's a picture somewhere.
You were either 2 or 3, and you were going again. And so he was like, okay, like, he's going again. So she took a red jogging suit, which she thought looked royal, and she took an apron tied around your neck like a cape, and made one of those little crowns out of aluminum foil, and put on makeup, and that's it. Mordechai, you think? Oh, and a sharvit made out of aluminum foil, and the little tender pulls up, and every kid is dressed like from the cast of a Hollywood, historical drama. These big fancy things, and your mouth just drops open. So you came home and he says, so how was it? He goes, oh, very nice. This one was, this one was Haman, and this one was a clown, and this one was that. He goes, and you were Mordechai Yehuda? He goes, no. Kivi was Mordechai Yehuda. He goes, well, what were you? I was just nothing. And the trauma remains to this day. So.
Well, there's like a class porn picture there that we had. And you see them all and stuff, and I'm just in there with like, shoving down, just looking down.
But it's totally out of control.
It is. It's crazy. It's just crazy. And if you have a lot of kids and,
Yerushalmis, you know what Yerushalmis do? They put on a Turkish fez.
Yeah.
That's it. That's what they do.
That's funny. That's a funny Purim costume.
Probably goes back to when the Turks were here. So to them that was
some of them are still living in that era.
It was in vogue back then,
So so you have the costumes, and all right, this is preparation. Right? Now, you live in Yerushalayim. So the fast doesn't fall right into Purim.
That's the best thing.
Yeah.
Best thing about living in Yerushalayim.
Right. The first thing when I moved down, I live in Beit Shemesh, right? The hardest part on Purim was that. Because
you go straight from the Tainus into
Exactly. And
it's not like when I was growing up where kids had these little groggers. Now they have these gigantic 4-foot groggers, and they've got air horns, and they shoot all the cap guns and the
military-grade explosives.
M16s. So halfway through, you don't care about Haman, you want to kill that kid over there.
Now, to be honest, as a kid,
your head is killing. So
as a kid, I used to be that kid. I mean, we used to bring pots and pans and just bang on stuff. You bought us one time, different kind of like noise, right? To come to bring up to the Megillah and stuff. And I mean, you can't just sit in the living room and like take the pong. Right? I mean, so they're at the shul, you're just a kid, you're just doing the noise, and people want to kill you. Yeah. Yeah, but
at least it's better you're not going from a tinus,
Yeah, that's rough. That's rough. Right, and I feel like you have that extra day because if it's not Purim yet, then you have life and everything, goes on regular, and then you just it's Purim right away, and you got to get here. You had the extra day. I still
cannot comprehend that on Shushan Purim, this is the only place we're doing Purim. Like to me, it feels like this is Purim for everybody. And on regular Purim, when the whole world is celebrating Purim, to me, it's nothing.
Right.
I just don't even understand how that works.
Right.
So I can't think of any other time when it's like this,
But because you're supposed to have some sort of like Suda ready at nighttime.
Well, we're good at that.
Right.
So we always have some kind of Suda.
Right. Well, I'm saying when I was my whole childhood, you always just take short ribs.
Yeah.
Glazed with like honey and stuff, like a sweet whatever. Used to cook it for hours in the oven, and then used to just
ribs.
Yeah, and we used to just demolish it, just the me and you.
L'shem Shemayim.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, that's
not
the
because
mitzvah.
I wanted to eat.
No. I mean, I wanted to be milchik. I mean, who even wanted to eat the meat? But
little cottage cheese and a tomato.
What else? What else does one need?
I said that once to Yerushalmi. I said, how do you? I said, what are you living on? You know what I mean? He adds up the money. I said, there's no money there, I said, yeah, because to you, supper is like, a piece of bread and, tomato and cottage cheese. He says, cottage cheese? Who can afford cottage cheese? Tomato and a piece of bread, a little butter, fine. Cottage cheese. What am I, a Gavriel? It's a different thing, you know.
Hey.
When we first moved here, an Israeli invited us over for supper, and the main course was petitim, which for those of you in America is orzo. And our kids were like, "Where's the food? what is this?" Israelis do a big lunch and they don't do a supper. So
It's like a Shragi story when he went to Shabbos to the...
we have a cousin Shragi Klughaupt, and he was invited to a family in Meir for a Suda. And they put out the bread, and they put out the dips, and they put out the fish. It says, "You want another piece of fish?" He says, "Oh, I'm leaving room for the main course." Everyone goes, I will have another piece of fish. But that's okay because, I had a nutritionist, one of my nutritionists that I went through. She says, "I don't understand you from people, what you're even thinking." Says, you sit down, you have bread, and you have all the dips and the salads. That's called a meal. I remember when I was here, you go out to a falafel store, you got a hummus plate.
Yes.
Hummus, a couple of falafel balls and that. And
till today, by the way, this is a
that's
common
a
thing.
That's a Suda. So you just ate a meal. Then you bring out the fish and the soup. That's another meal. Then you bring out the main course and the side dish. That's another meal. Then the amount of calories in the dessert and the bed. You eat 4 meals on a Friday night. So
yeah, but I'll tell you something. I've seen my share of fitness experts and so on. But the majority of them that I went to, they're humongous. They're huge people, and it's just very hard to accept. From someone like that who comes and tells you, "Listen, you're really fat. You got to do a diet. You know what I mean? Eat whatever, half a yogurt, some popcorn, and whole wheat bread and whatever." And I'm like, what do you eat? I mean,
I'll have what he's having.
Yeah, half of that. I mean, that's not genuine.
That's your Uncle Jason's story. When he after one of his heart attacks, so he had to lose. Oh, he had to lose weight in order to get the heart transplant. That was to get onto the list.
He did. He lost a lot of weight.
Yeah. So he went to the first nutritionist, and she was very heavy. So he says, "You have nothing to tell me." And he walked out. Then he goes to the next one, and she was really skinny. And he says, "You have no idea where I'm coming from. Why should I waste my time listening to you?" He says, "I was heavy. I lost the weight." I said, "I come from a very heavy family. I've been watching myself my whole life."
Wow.
He says, "Okay, talk."
Yeah.
That's how it goes.
Yeah.
But listen, I don't necessarily understand that. Because someone could be good at what they do, even though they're... My friend Rabbi Rudman told me that when his brother was in medical school, the guy who was teaching about lung cancer was a chain smoker. And he's sitting there puffing away going, "Look at the x-ray. You can see the diseased lungs coming from the smoking." So a person can know it.
Yeah, no. I'm not saying that they're necessarily wrong. It's just a little harder to accept,
Yeah, I got
especially when they call you huge, Personal experience.
When you broke your toe that time. I said, I know already what the doctor's going to say. He says, no matter what you're doing, when you're really heavy and you go to the doctor, it doesn't matter what you're coming in for. Strep throat. He goes, "Well, you know what your problem is? You need to lose weight." So one time I go in and they say, "Well, you know what the problem is?" I said, "I'm not getting enough red meat." "No, that's not the problem." So you were outside when he had a broken toe,
Well, it was in the pool. I was kicking whatever, and I ended up kicking the metal ladder going up, and I broke one of my toes. Yeah.
So I was telling you this story. So we go into the doctor, and sure enough, he says, "Well, you know what your problem is?" And you just burst out laughing. He goes, "It's not funny."
It is to me.
Yeah, well, I didn't prepare you well for life. Anyway. But it used to be a lot different when I had jobs because I had students.
Right. Well, but till today this happens. So I didn't get to the day. So nighttime, right? You do the Megillah, right? So you're not coming in out of a fast.
Right.
Right. So, and a lot of your Megillah is very different than the rest of the world because they had a day of Purim, and somehow whoever can somehow streams into Yerushalayim on Purim.
I don't get it.
Okay.
People want 2 days of Purim.
Yeah. I know people who say, like, could I be somewhere and then drive somewhere else and try to miss the Purim?
Yeah,
you know?
that's right.
Yeah.
To me, it's like stay in Yerushalayim and then just before Shkia, drive to Beit Shemesh and stay there, and then you can miss Purim altogether. You know, I hear that more than having 2 days of Purim. You know, but that's what they have. A lot of people in Yerushalayim, they go to
Right. So your Megillah reading is different. The experience is different. A lot of people are coming in already drunk, you know, already after a whole day of Purim, right? That's different by us. No one's coming in drunk, or hopefully not, right, to the rest of the world's Megillah. So the nighttime is usually, starts off calm, not so much by you guys. And you always had your Megillah.
Yeah, my grandfather's Megillah.
Yeah.
At least that's what my father told me.
Mm-hmm.
He says it's his grandfather's Megillah. And I would take that along with me. Old Megillah.
Very old. Patched up a few times. Yeah. All right, good. And that was on a serious note.
Because one of the little pieces fell off. So I have a hole in it now.
Now still?
Well, it was all patched up, but then one of the patches fell off. So I have to
fix
it
it
back on, yeah. Anyway.
Right. All right. And then, I mean, that basically sums it up. And then we're finishing up the Shalach Monas. Preparing them, right? Okay. The morning, are you a early davening guy, a late davening guy?
Early.
Every
early.
day?
Not a Vasikin.
Okay.
Not a Vasikin. But if you go to a late Megillah reading, then your day is half over by the time you get home. You know, and they have all those, you have all those Shalach Monos already outside your door, you know, when you're leaving to go to Megillah reading, you know. And then you have to track the people down to give them a Shalach Monos, whereas if they come to the door, you can quickly do the switch, you know.
Well, you believe in that? If someone gives you a Shalach Monos, you have to give them back?
You don't have to.
Right.
But it is, you know, expected.
And what if you were not prepared?
Like the Gemara says, by the gifts you give to the chosin, you know, that whatever you give, if the guy doesn't give you back, you can even be tying him in Beis Din because, you know, expect to do it. But my parents, when we had a bar mitzvah or something, they would keep a list of the gifts, you know, based on, and that they would know how much to give when they went to their bar mitzvah. That's how we did it. And then if somebody didn't keep up, you know.
All right. But if someone comes and you're not prepared, you didn't think, it wasn't on your list, what do you do then?
I always make some extras.
Okay. 5 people came in, 10 extra people.
Right. So once upon a time, that was a problem. So then you make a quickie, you know, you pull some stuff together, you know, and, you know, hand them the garbage. Say, you want to take this out with you? Drop it on the way out. So, yeah, you can put something together. I mean, then you make a zombie Shalach Monos, you know, where you raid other people's Shalach Monos and stick things together. And,
right.
You know. But they see it's not the theme.
Right. I mean, obviously they know. So
there was a time, like you said, when we used to make like 60 Shalach Monos, but you know, now we're down to about 4. Managed to alienate just about everybody in our lives, and so not a problem.
Yeah, moving right along. So then you come back from davening and whatever. Okay, the Shalach Monos, whatever starts. Now, the way you always had it here, always took out whatever alcohol you had around. Just set the table. And then slowly throughout the day, you would have like groups and groups of students coming by.
Yeah, that's when I had students.
Yeah. But that still happens today when I see you on Purim.
Nah.
Not so much?
No. Well, you know, I've never been a big fan of the Tatim. You know, come around collecting. So
you let them know.
You were the bouncer.
Well, I mean, listen. Sometimes you would let them know fiercely, exactly.
When people come in like a mensch
about it,
and they want to collect, and they tell you what it is, and they sit down like you mentioned, okay. But when they come in and do the drunk routine, you know, now some of them it's not a routine. You know, and they come in, they're spilling stuff and that. I said, get out of my house. This is not, you want me to give you money, Ki'ilu, you b'nei Torah, when you acted like animals? What? I don't give money to animals. Here's some oats and get out. So, okay. Part of it is I'm a cranky old man. That's part of it. And I always was, even when I was young, But part of it is, don't come in here and act like a bunch of behemoths and then expect that I should give you tzedakah. It's not tzedakah, So there are guys who come in, like mention, sometimes they dance a little bit, sometimes they just sit down, say over Dvar Torah, okay, that's menschlich. I understand that, Your cousin Aaron would have a board where he'd put down money and then you get to spin. And if it's a certain number, then he'll double it. And if not, then you lose it, Like they're on the phone with the Rosh Yeshiva, goes, I don't know, what should I do? What should I do? Should I spin? Do I not? This is what he's giving me. Because the Rosh Yeshiva was like, I spin, I'll say a kapitel tehillim.
Well, what happened was with that story, I think the whole like yeshiva came to him. And then he basically let every kid spin. And then whatever that came out. And then he told them, you have one spin. 2 dice, if you get, I think, over under a 5 or whatever, you lose it. 5, 6, 7, it stays, and then higher than that, I double it. And I think then was a large amount. And what happened was with that story, if I remember correctly, they asked the Rosh Yeshiva, it was a whole story back and forth. And then he said, fine, just someone should spin it. And he spun it and he got a 3. And he lost the whole thing. And first he's like, oh, that's it, it's over and whatever. It was a whole total. Then he ended up giving him the double anyway.
Really?
Yeah. This is how the story goes. I don't know. I wasn't there, but this is the story. But they said to roll and they lost everything.
I was by one of my big thrills, and I would take you sometimes. I go to Moshe Shapiro.
Yeah, every Purim.
And he, of course, he had a whole tish going there, and he had nuts and garinim on the table, which is a minig, because Esther only ate nuts and garinim. She said she was a vegetarian, and so that's all that she ate because she didn't want to have any treif. And so he would have all that out, have the different bottles and things like that. I remember one year I came back, I had bought on the plane, they had a Johnny Walker Blue.
It was a blue label, yeah. I was there.
You were there?
Yeah.
I bring it in, and it's like, whoa, okay, it's for Moshe and for him, He opens it up, he pours it for everybody, Chaim, and everybody at the same time goes, I don't get it. Moshe was like, well, why is this so much money? This is terrible. That alone was worth it. The money was worth it just for that reaction, It's like, what is this,
Hey.
So but I would go to Moshe and so one time a tat came in.
Yeah, I was there.
Yeah, and he says, "Ze minag maguna ad ma'od." Just get out. So they were Israelis, and they fought with him.
Yeah, but he ended up giving them money.
Of course he did.
Yeah.
So after they left, I said, if those were American, they would have just crawled out. They would just slunk out of the door. Because American, lo asiti. Because Israelis, they come in with this azus, you know what I mean? So.
But if I remember, I think he was saying that it's not mitzvah sayom. He says
that's what he says. He says
the poor people.
He says matanas of yonim. This is He says, so when should we come? Tell me when I'll come back.
Take the money and never come back. Here you go. Goodbye.
And he gave it's like 50 or 200. I don't know. It was like
I remember.
It was like a respectable amount. And I was like,
yeah.
This is after yelled at him and said, this is a terrible minhag and I want no part of it. And, okay, here's the money.
He was special.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But Purim you can get away with stuff.
Yeah.
Sometimes. Ami Cohen told me that one year he dressed up like Rafutna and he was not happy. Moshe didn't think it was funny, Another time, my friend Zav told me that he did something. I won't go into the specifics. Where Moshe says, I'll tell you damn as a ghoul. I'll tell you damn as a over ghoul. But otherwise you can ask him stuff and,
Yeah.
I remember one year he says to me, Dovid, ain't lecha shum kvetch? Nothing to complain about. So I started on something and he got all upset. And I said, oh, Baruch Hashem, I'm using my Purim. I got Moshe angry again. It was amazing. So Rabbi Nisso, who was just on the podcast, he says to Moshe, he goes, I don't know, he doesn't like Purim, he doesn't think it's funny. He goes, that's because he understands what Purim's really all about,
Yeah.
The Gemara gives 3 reasons why we don't say Hallel on Purim. One is it was outside of Yisrael. So one reason is the Megillah is the Hallel. The third answer is because it's not such a happy holiday. When it opens, the Beis Hamikdash is destroyed, and the Jews are in Gullus, and the evil king Achashverosh is in charge. And when the story ends, that's all the same. So that's not what we usually call a geula. So we didn't get killed, which is a good thing. Don't get me wrong on that, but it's not a real geula the way we think of a geula, And that's why it's seeing HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the darkness. I really have to mention this because in the matziv that we're in right now, after all these terrible tragedies and the war and everything that's going on, people wonder, how do you do Purim? But that's what Purim is. Purim is finding the simcha in the darkness, in the hester panim of HaKadosh Baruch Hu, haste panai, and that's what Purim is. So even in the bad times, that's when you have to be able to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu in the darkness. So I was just to kill the entire mood, but I know people wonder about this. I remember there was one year, my friend Y.Y. Rubenstein, who was also on one of our live shows, there was in Yerushalayim, this was during Rabin, when he was prime minister, the 18 bus blew up on a Sunday morning. And horrible thing, a bunch of people were killed. And so the right wing said that's because you didn't close the shtachim. So they closed the shtachim. Next Sunday morning on the 18th bus, somebody blows themselves up. They said, well, that's Yerushalayim. The next week on Tainus Esther, a guy blows himself up in a mall in Tel Aviv. A whole bunch of kids in their costumes are killed. And there was a whole question, should we have Purim or not? And he was, at the time, he was in Manchester in the university, and he came in, all Purim-dick. And he says, that is Purim. Purim is when it doesn't make any sense, when you see all the tragedies, to be able to find HaKadosh Baruch Hu, that's what Purim's all about. So, Dafka, in a year like this, when the enemies of Israel are working so hard to try to destroy us, that's the time that we have to find the simcha in the darkness. Okay, just thought I'd throw that. Okay, Kaddish, he's good.
Timing. It's all about the timing. I mean, you had all the podcasts for this, and this. All right, I'm just saying. Okay, listen, it's your podcast.
Anyway, we'll go to Ramesh in the afternoon. That was.
By the way, he called me, Rabbi Nissel, before he published the book.
Yeah. Because
he wanted some stories. But I told him, like, the stories he knows. Yeah, everyone knows, but there's some of them I can't tell.
Right.
Like, I don't, it's not my place to publish them.
Well, I always say over, I say, Ramesh said this to me, I believe in confidence, so let me share it with He should have known better to tell me something in confidence. Like, what did you think, So reminds me,
very special.
There was this Australian comic had a film called Crocodile Dundee, and he comes to New York, and the person who's taking him, he says, I have to go to my analyst. I said, well, what's that? He goes, what somebody you tell you promised to, so you feel better. He goes, oh, you mean like Mike? Who's Mike? Oh, Mike runs the general store, and if you have anything embarrassing or that you feel bad about, you tell Mike, and Mike tells everybody else, and then you don't feel embarrassed anymore because everyone knows about it. So if you want to share something with me in confidence, I do this sometimes. I was speaking and say, so-and-so who's running the event told me something in confidence. I'd like to share it with everybody right now. Anyway.
No, I don't think he would have a problem to say, you know what I mean? I don't know.
I don't know. Because he was,
We were there. He told us stuff, when we were
But
just there.
he didn't want this stuff. He didn't want
I
everything
assume not,
publicized.
because no one else. He didn't say it to anybody else that I know, unless everyone knows.
Somebody snuck in once to ask him a question, and they had a recorder, and they recorded him, and then they opened a police investigation against him.
Yeah, terrible.
So, and also with Moshe, there was nuance, and so when he said something, you had to understand what he meant.
Yeah,
and you couldn't just take the words at face value. You had to learn shot. I heard a story from Ami Cohen, David Cohen's son, and he said that when Rav Soloveitchik gave the first Gemara shir to women in Stern College, so there was a meeting with the Gedolei Torah, and they were like, "What do we do about this?" So they said to Reb Moshe Weinstein, he says, "You're his cousin. Call him up." So he calls him up, comes back and says, "He says he didn't do it." So Hutner says, if a man like that says he didn't do it, you're mechuyev to believe him. Oh, but what do we do with the picture in the Allgemeine Journal? So he asked this Ray Meiselman, Rosh Yeshiva Toras Moshe, his nephew. Yeah. He says, "You don't understand the Rav. That wasn't a Gemara shir." Why? Because they were all sitting with Gemaras, and he was explaining, "Right, that's not called a Gemara shir. If you understand what a Gemara shir is, then you'd understand that wasn't a Gemara shir, So you have to learn pshat sometimes, So Rav Moshe would say certain things, and you had to understand. There were times that he would say something, and it wasn't totally clear, and people would ask him, and he'd say, you can't figure this out for yourself. He was very much in, I gave you the Yisaitis, now work it out,
Yeah.
So there was one time after a share, people were saying something. I said, I don't think that's what he meant, But yeah, that's what he meant. So I go up to him and I said, there are people saying this. Whoever those people are, tell them they have no shaykhs to learning, and they shouldn't be in the shaykhs. Because listen, I'm still in trouble for when you sent me after somebody. I'm not doing nothing over here. I'm back here. You want to say something, you do it yourself. I've gotten into enough trouble with you already.
Send the next guy.
That's right. I'm AWOL. I'll never forget when I had been teaching in Isha Torah, and then when I moved over to Or Sameach. So one time they had me speaking to a group at night, and I'm coming in. It was a Motzi Shabbos, pretty late, and Reb Noach is coming up the stairs. He says to me, "In my book, you're AWOL." I said, "It's 10 o'clock at night on a Motzi Shabbos. I'm coming here to speak in your yeshiva. What are you talking about?" I didn't know what to say. But you mentioned AWOL. So anyway, yeah. So then Purim. So we used to have people come by.
Yeah.
I have the Talmidot when I used to teach. I used to teach in seminaries and yeshivas, and I had the boys for the Suda, and I had. It was one year when I was teaching in seminary, and 30 seminary girls wanted to come for the, each one called separately. And we were young then. We were like, sure. We set up tables and tables and tables. And we just spent the whole time running around serving, And one by one, the girls all left because it says boring. Well, of course it's boring. You're just sitting here and I'm running around serving your food. So what were you expecting exactly, But the guys know how to have more fun. So.
Yeah. Well, when we were younger, we used to go at nights, and we used to do the Purim spiel in every place you were at. You're a big Purim spiel guy.
I still believe in it.
Yeah.
I when I was teaching in Or Sameach, a guy said to me, "Listen, they want me to be in the Purim spiel, but I'm going to miss time for learning." I said, I think the Purim spiel is one of the most important things in the yeshiva because, number one, it creates the Achdus, and with Achdus comes more Torah. That's Rabbi Chaim Shmulevitz. Where it says, why was there a greater Kabbalas Torah at Purim? Because there was a greater Achdus. And since the Chaim HaKadosh says there are 3 requirements to be able to be Kabbalas Torah, one of them is is Achdus. If there's more Achdus, more Kabbalas Torah. I said, so first of all, you'll have more learning if there's more Achdus in yeshiva. I said, second of all, it's the only way to say things in yeshiva that have to be said that you can't say normally. But you can do it in a Purim shul. There's opportunity for social critique that you otherwise wouldn't be able to do.
Yeah.
And I'm a big believer in that. I have this dream, one day maybe I'll do it, to do a Purim spiel in Yerushalayim, in one of these, theaters that they have, where they put on the performances and stuff and do a real performance. But I'm an Atzlan. But I'm constantly thinking up new scenes and new things to make fun of. And it would be such in the terms of social commentators, it's like the Kichels. The Kichels is by the way, they quoted me because I spoke about it on in the second edition of their collection. And they can say things that nobody else can say because they're comic strip characters and it's a joke. But you can, mamish, get in all the stuff that you otherwise can't say. And because it's funny, it's a joke. They're just joking, and then you can. So that is the power of late Sunnis when it's used for the right purpose. So that's why Purim spiel was always a very important thing. And it's almost impossible to impersonate me. And it was only one guy who came close, right? My friend Mendel Berlin, who of course puts out the Torah Suites Parsha sheet, and has been a sponsor here. And he did me one year. It was very good. It was very good.
Yeah.
Very close.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Listen.
It's not like, but I'm hard to do.
Yeah, but even like Trump, how many videos out there people impersonating him? How many of them are like really exact?
2.
Yeah, right. So
2 that I've seen that are just absolutely perfect.
Yeah.
Just perfect.
Yeah.
Because to do an impersonation, there's a lot of different things. You have to get the voice, you have to get the movements, and you have to figure out what would the person say. So if I just say something that the person already says, that's not an impersonation, that's an imitation. But an impersonation means you have to become that person and say, what would they do in this situation? So you do, what would Donald Trump be like, shopping in the supermarket? You know what I mean? Then you have to do all the Trumpian lines and, but that's an art form. That's very hard to do.
Yeah.
He says, Joe Biden, when he comes to the dramatic part, he starts whispering. Like this one impersonator. He says, Trump does the exact opposite. He says, what they're doing to our country, it's horrible. It's really horrible. They bring in all these people, legal immigrants. They're doing all these terrible things. They're murderers. They're rapists. That's very good. I never noticed that, but it's true. That's what he does, So that's to impersonate is an art form. But they say imitation is the greatest form of flattery, and there's no question about it. And that is, when you impersonate somebody, that means you have to really get into it. I heard a story with Chaim Sofer years ago. I never checked it out. I'm not Pesach Crown, but where he was giving a whole drasha, and this kid knew him, and so he sat down at the bottom where everyone could see him, but the Chaim Sofer couldn't see him, and he was impersonating whatever he was doing and all of his movements and there, like this. So Chaim Sofer found out afterwards. He got very upset. Guy came to ask Mechila, and he says, I thought about it. He goes, you must have been listening very closely if you were able to impersonate everything I was doing. To be a good impersonator, you have to mamish. And that's why, on Saturday Night Live, the guy who did George Bush, elder, I don't remember which one it was. It was one of these old SNL people. So he says, you can't do somebody if you don't like them. You can't really impersonate somebody, because it comes out harsh. It's not real. If you like somebody, then you can get into their mitzias, which is what impersonation is. Yeah.
All right. Take me to the meal. Take me to the meal.
Take me to the meal. Chalovchus.
We're already an hour in, and it's not one that we could split into. So.
All right, so we'll wrap it up.
10, 15 minutes.
Take me to dessert.
All right, so the meal, you got to have kreplach. There was a time you could not buy it here. You had to make them yourself. Now you can only buy kreplach in Israel before Hoshana Rabbah, Purim, and Yom Kippur. It's a seasonal food. I don't know why. I have a life of me I can't figure it out. In America, you can get kreplach whenever you want. Now you have to be, and I have to make my own prune hamantash because they do not have prune hamantash in this country. They have chocolate. They have halva. They have strawberry. They have dates. But hamantash comes in two flavors, either prune or mon, poppy seed. And no one eats poppy seed. Sometimes people pick it up by mistake thinking it's a prune hamantash. They bite into it. They spit it out. It's terrible. I don't know who eats it. I don't know why they make mun funds. I think it's just like as a party trick. But prune hamantash, they don't have in this country because it's very hard to get Jewish food here. They don't believe in Jewish food. They have Arab food. But you can't get Jewish food, black cherry soda. Doesn't exist. You know what I mean? Cream soda. Jewish food they don't have in this country. So they have Arab food. But hummus is not a Jewish food. It's not a Jewish food. Never was. Neither is falafel. These things are not, cold cuts. They don't know from cold cuts. They don't get it. But anyway, so I have to make my own prune hamantash. One year I couldn't even find prune filling. I had to make my own prune filling. Stayed in the freezer for a year and we threw it away. But anyway, so how much do you put into a hamantash at the end of the day? But you have to have kreplach and you have to have chalupchas, which are stuffed cabbage. For those of you who grew up like me. Remember the first time my wife said, "Oh, look, they made chalupchas." I was like, "What is that you're saying? you eat stuffed cabbage? You eat chalupcha, But that's how I grew up. Anyway, so and why do we eat those foods?
Because they're covered foods.
They're hidden. They're hidden. Everything is hidden. That's why I think it's a Bnei Yisoscha. He says,
"He's my shver's ben achaben to the Bnei Yisoscha." Yichus.
Your in-laws are German Hasidim.
That is correct.
That is a rarity.
Yes.
Shimshon before Hirsch with a Streimel. Shimshon before Hirsch never went to the mikveh. Maybe every Kippur, I don't know, So one morning he's going to the mikveh. They go, "Rebbe, you're becoming a chassid?" He goes, "No, I was speaking with Gretz." A student Gretz who was Avigdor. I was speaking to Gretz. I have to go to the mikveh. Anyway, but he says on Hanukkah you spin the dreidel because the hand is on the top. But on Purim you do the garaga because the hand is on the bottom. So everything is hidden. So you eat food where it's hidden, So, and that's why very often we'd also make the chicken bareka.
Well, till today, no?
Yeah, sometimes.
That's Purim.
Where everything is hidden. Everything's hidden, My friend J.C. Shapiro, he when it came out on a Friday, so you have to have Yehuda early, so he made pulled beef hamantash for the first meal, and the main course was Alka-Seltzer. Anyway, breakfast food of champions. Anyway,
and now listen, you always. My whole job, we always had the same guest. That was always the base. The bears would always do it together.
Yeah.
Right? And then you had the add-ons, whoever was around.
Well, when I had Talmidim, I said my Talmidim. That was...
Yes. And then just random strangers.
That was when I was younger. When I was younger, this was a place that people would just come to after their Suda was finished or when they realized their Suda was losers and they would come here. In fact, I've had many people over the years, relatives and people who come and are absolutely horrified by our Purim. They're just horrified because, your mother grew up with a Purim Suda where the family sat around the table and had a Shabbos Suda. Mm-hmm. That was the Purim Suda. They put out a bottle of wine. Someone put on a funny hat. That was it, And the insanity that went on over here, where somebody would just suddenly walk in totally drunk with a guitar and start singing, and someone would come in and make a siyum, there was all kinds of, and normal people would just look at this and they were like horrified. They was like, who are these people and why are they here? Because I really don't know who they are. So, and they would pass out on the floor and, very interesting.
And I'm rushing through this a little bit because of the time, but then it all came down to the end. After the dessert and after everything, you would always close the lights.
I forgot about that.
Yeah.
I was young.
Yeah. Still till now.
You know, someone
You
said
always
to
used
me,
to give the story.
when I turn 60, people say, 60 is not old. And I say, I have a Beferish Mishnah that says not like you. Shishin Lezikna. That's what my Pirkei says. So clearly you're wrong. Shivim, you're very old. 80, we're surprised you're still here. That's basically what the Mishnah says, right? Shivim L'Seva and Shmonim L'Gvur. Like, I don't know how you made it. Anyway, yeah, that's right. I forgot. Because, I used to run NCSY. We used to do kumsitzes. We'd sit down and we'd do kumsitz.
And you start singing Kol Ha'olam Kulo. And then you used to give the story. And at different breaks, everybody would sing. And there was a large crowd, a lot of people here. Very inspiring.
I forgot about that.
Yeah. Well, I don't know if I
try
lasted.
to go back to my room as quickly as possible. Just to do it. Wait for the next heart attack.
Why'd you stop doing these?
I don't remember because I stopped teaching. So I don't have any Talmidim, And my kids, most of them live in Beit Shemesh. And so they have their own sudas. And so they just stop in,
Well, everybody comes. I mean, everyone comes.
They come, but it's not really Purim for them. You know what I mean? It's like they're just keeping the old man company, as he sits there and goes, why are all the kids making noise? But it used to be a lot of fun. It used to be exciting, But those days, when you're in your 60s and you're in your 20s, it doesn't matter who you are. It's only so much fun it's going to be. So either you're going to be Reb Moshe and your Talmidim are coming because they want to hear your Torah, or it's your kids who are coming by to, just to see you and, see how you're doing, kind of a thing. But to have that suda, that's something a Rebbe and a Talmud has. It's a different kind of thing, So now, who do I have? So it's like, a few local kids, but nothing, So when your sister Mindy was here, she was always disappointed every Purim because she remembers hearing the stories of the old days, and now it's like we just sit around and who's getting the soup? I'll get the soup.
Somehow every Purim, the house is full. There's always guests. There's always people.
Not like it was.
Okay, but I'm saying you're never sitting here on a Shabbos meal, you and some of your kids. I'm saying.
You know how they talk about the empty nest syndrome?
Yeah.
I always wondered what that's like. I can't even imagine. I know people whose kids grew up and they got married and moved away, and every Shabbos it's just them. I imagine what that's like. So my parents, when they would go away to a resort, so you had a choice. You could have your own table or you could sit with couples and stuff. My parents always sat with the couples because they were a party waiting for a place to happen. And when me and you would go away, we'd always ask for our own table. We don't want to talk to anybody. Have time to get away and spend time together. So it's a different experience, One day we will be there. All right. Well, Yaakov Orlofsky, back to the show with memories and embarrassing stories about Rabbi Orlofsky and growing up. And
I don't think it was embarrassing. I mean, most of the stories were,
Yeah, you left out,
That's nothing. This is how it was.
We'll have to find that old video, I guess, maybe, and put it out. I still have never seen it. I don't know what I look like drunk. So, but
I think that was the 1 year that I don't think anyone else got drunk.
Really?
Because usually everyone gets drunk and then you get upset at the drunks and we have to try to remove the drunks and then whoever's left and whatever. And then that year you were just...
I just don't remember.
You were just out of here. You were sitting all day. I think there was... Maybe you had I don't know when you started drinking. And a lot of people come in, they kept doing l'chaims. And by the time the meal came, you were already like that. Everyone was on, watch alert, okay. And halfway through, it was gone. And then no one's gonna start drinking now. It was okay, here it is.
I'm always high, so to get drunk seems to me and often I'm a sad drunk,
Well, not that year.
Yeah, that's why I don't remember. Anyway. But there is video evidence, so maybe you know, like I said at the beginning, I don't want any Hespedim, but maybe we'll show that. since I'll finally have a chance to watch it and not be able to say anything, you know? How much more embarrassed could I be? I'm in a box, you know what I mean? Like, you know. Anyway, so that's it for this week. We want to thank Yaakov Orlofsky for coming back, and really, you should be a regular, you know. Wow. Terry Wogan, I think it is like the number one radio show in England, and my friend Rabbi YY, was a regular on the show. Oh, it was just a secular show, but he would come on Rabbi YY because he's very entertaining. You know? Yeah. Well, Terry Wogan, I think. Anyway, so he
Joe
was
Rogan.
No.
I'm just okay.
Terry.
I'm just
I
kidding.
hope I remember correctly. I don't know. It's English. Right. But one time the Queen comes to Manchester and he goes, "Where's that Rabbi YY? I so enjoy him on the Terry Wogan show." So he saw it written up in an article. So he sent it to Terry, and the next day he was fired.
Really?
Yeah. So he called up his people. He says, "Why?" He goes, "I told you, it's Terry's show. If the Queen is asking about you instead of Terry, then that's a problem." Is that was A Refuah? I was speaking someplace where Refuah was teaching, you know, a little bit. Then I gave him a whole tribute, and he was fired the next week.
Really?
Yep. But Baruch Hashem, Yaakov, you can come back anytime you want, because I don't feel threatened at all. Because I'm a legend of my. I'm just the tens of thousands of people who follow this podcast and get chizuk from it, and you're a fan favorite, of course. You've been gone for too long, and we haven't. This is a Purim one. We have to come back and talk about your new business, and some of the amazing stories that come with that, and maybe we'll give a shout out. Notza.
That's right.
Can you find it online?
Of course. notza.com.co.il. I'm sorry,
not .com. Of all of your linens and
houseware, all the houseware.
Housewares?
Houseware. Yeah, I mean like pillows, blankets, towels, sheets.
That's all called linen.
It's all called linen?
That's called linen.
A pillow?
Housewares means like pots, pans, you know, those kind of things.
All right then.
Yeah.
Linen.
I'll have to bring your brother Shlomo on to talk about his Schleim's smoked meats.
Yeah, amazing.
Everybody's
very good.
Everybody's going off in different directions. And me, I do nothing. I sit here and I talk to you. So that's it. So everybody, a Freilich and Purim, and Yeshuos and Nechamos. And you know, there's two Adars this year, and we know that we put it in Adar Beis, so it's Semech Geula La Geula, and so the Geula of Purim should read to the Geula of Pesach, and we should be Zeicha to an Emesa Geula this year, and we'll have the Rabbi Orlofsky live show right near the Har HaBayis until Melech Mashiach comes and chases us away. What are you people doing here? Get out of here. No, they might get out.
No cameras. Shut the cameras.
Shut the cameras. Get out of here. What do you think you are? Anyway, so that's it. So if you want to find out more about the show, you can go to my website, RabbiOrlofsky.com, and you can send an email. You can leave a comment. You can download the theme song. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
Bum, ba-dum, bum.
I didn't know it was going to be a musical segment. Anyway, but...
I mean, you did it with every other guest, literally. I mean, every guy who came here got a singing portion.
Everyone gets a singing
except
part.
Me, yeah. Okay.
So next time you'll come, you'll sing some of your own compositions. Yaakov composes those songs. And you can sign up for one of our online shiurim. People are always signing up and joining the Tefillah or the Mesil Sharm and Daf Yomi. So you have those options. And that's it. You could sponsor an episode. You could sponsor a question and answer. We didn't have a question and answer this week.
You could send money with no sponsorship.
Yeah, people do.
Mm-hmm.
They want to see this continue. It's not for me, you know. It's to be able to keep the show going. And eventually, when we have enough money, we're going to build the Rabbi Orlofsky Show studios and have a place for a live studio audience. And we'll have activities there. And some of my children will live there. Anyway... And that's it until next time. And so for now, I am David Orlofsky.
Yaakov Orlofsky.
And this has been the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.
It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Knowledge and wisdom will help you grow. Lots of fun in every episode. And we don't have to rhyme. No, we don't. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show on RabbiOrlofsky.com. Torah anytime, YouTube and more. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Torah and Simcha, ready to go. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. Till next time, till we meet again. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show. It's the Rabbi Orlofsky Show.